This is the review for the last little bit of class, that review for 6 and 7. The idea with probability is that you always have to think about how many ways to get what you want on top and how many possibilities are there on the bottom. And then you always want to reduce that. So for question A, if we roll one die, what's the probability of getting either a 3 or a 5? Well, I could get a 3 or a 5. So there's 2 ways to get what I want out of 6 possible things, and then that reduces down to 1/3. And so the answer for that one would be 1/3. If you said 2 out of 6, you'd get half the credit. So make sure that you reduce. Then for B, how many ways can you get an even number? Well, I could get a 2, a 4, or a 6. So there's 3 ways to get what I want out of 6 possibilities. So really, it's a half because I want to reduce that 3/6 down to a half. So remember, for probability, the top number is always how many ways can I get what they're asking, and the bottom is how many different things could happen, and then you reduce it. Okay, so now we've got a survey conducted on a Friday at the Quick Shop supermarket. It was found that 623 out of 850 people bought at least one item. Find the probability that a person entering the supermarket on a Friday will purchase, first of all, at least one item. Well, it said 623 out of 850 will buy one item. So that would be the answer for letter A. Letter B takes a little more thinking. They're wondering how many of those 850 people are going to buy nothing at all. Well, that's the leftovers. They asked 850 people if they're going to buy something. Really, 623 said yes. What that means is I'm just going to say 850 minus 623 and get 227. And that's how many people are buying nothing at all. If 623 are buying at least one thing, 227 are buying nothing at all. So this would be the answer for letter B. And if you wanted to see if you can reduce it, if you're looking at that thinking, I wonder if I can reduce it, you can always type in your fraction. So 227 out of 850. And it doesn't reduce, so it can't be simplified anymore. So you can always check it that way too. Okay, so this next one, we want to do a frequency distribution. And then we're going to be making a histogram. So the frequency distribution, remember, you're going to have basically the 3 columns. Here's your tallies. And here's the number. And so this gets a little bit trickier if you don't read all the directions, because you might want to list every single number, and that would take a long time. But they actually want you to start, and they're even giving you a clue. 60, that's your lowest one. So they want to have groups. So 60 to 64, 65 to 69, 70 to 74. And then we're going all the way up to, looks like 97, I think is the highest one. So I'm going to go 75 to 79, 80 to 84, 85 to 89, 90 to 94, and then 95 to 99. So basically they're giving you the groups, or the intervals that you're going to use. And then I just go through each one. So 87, I'm going to go down. It doesn't really matter which way you do, you're going to get the same thing. So then 93, 97, 77. Then the second row, I get 66, 90, 79, 65, 85. Then the third row, 87, 85, 93, 93, 63. In the fourth row, I'll get 81, 86, 74, 75, and 72. And then the last row, 96, 92, 86, 88, and finally 73. And hopefully I didn't miss anything. So if I look at this, I say 1, 3, 3, 3, 1. Now you have a 7, a 5, and a 2. Now to be smart, I know it's 25 people. Especially if it's a final exam, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So I'm just going to add up my tally marks, add up this number right here to make sure I get 25. So if I look at this, if I'm looking for groups of 10, I think it's a little easier to find. So 5, 6, 7, 8. Like it's a little tricky to find groups of 10 for this one. So I have 7. I'm just going to add them up. 7 plus 7 is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 21, 24, 25. So all I'm doing there is just making sure that my numbers add up to the 25 because I know there's 25 numbers here. It tells me that. And I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So this is the first one. That's letter A. Now a histogram, we're going to just do it for space sake. We're going to do it right over here. What I would be doing for a histogram is pretty close to just basically making kind of like a little bar graph. I would do the intervals in the bottom. So I'd have, 60 to 64. And it's hard for me to get this on with a pen. But basically you would go and just do each interval on here. And then up here you'd have the number of tallies. Or you could write frequency. It's really up to you. And then, so I would actually go, because you're only going up to 7, I would make each one. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, so for instance, for 60 to 64, there's only 1 tally. So I would just do like that. For 65, there's 3 tallies. So you can either do like a little bar graph or you can just do the 3 X's for the 3. I'm fine with either one. It does not matter to me. Some people get pickier, but I think that gets a little silly. So your histogram can just basically be, then if you have like 70 to 74, you'd have 3 again, and you would just kind of keep going. So you can kind of see how that works. Now, number 4, we have the yield rates of 5 of the most active stocks. And now it says horizontal bar graph. So I know last night we had a lot of verticals being done horizontally. Horizontally has been being done vertically. Make sure you kind of watch that. That's a terrible line. Let's get a little bit straighter. So a horizontal bar graph, that means that the bars are going to be going out this direction. So you would have to put the AT&T like on the side, IBM, and so on. And then down here, you'd have your percentages. Well, I want to start at 0, and it looks like it goes up to about 8%. So I'm going to just have each one. And then I want to give it a label. I want to say yield rate. And I don't want to put percent by each one because I got this clunky pen. So I'm just putting percent here so I know that counts for all this. Or you could say 1%, 2%. Either way is fine. It's trickier with a slate to fit it in. And then we've got companies over here. So for instance, AT&T with 3.3% would look like that. And then IBM with 4.3, probably a little bit further than that, would be like this. So you would have a bar graph that kind of continued out. So General Motor would be 6.9, so you'd be all the way over to almost 7. And then you'd actually write this, hopefully a little neater than I'm doing. On paper, it's a little easier, I think, to be a little bit neater. Okay, this is where you're going to want to make sure that you take your time and you can have those printed notes. So first of all, we've got all these numbers and they're not in order. So I'm going to go ahead and just put them in order because that way I can use them for everything. So looking at this, it looks like 21 is my lowest number. So I'm going to write that one first. Then 24. And then 29, 30 and 32. 40 and 41. So what I want to do is double check that I have the same amount of numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Always double check because it's way too easy to make a mistake. Okay, so the mean, remember we said the mean is what you typically mean when you're averaging them. So you're going to add them all up. So 21, 24, 29, 30, 32, 40, and 41. And now remember, you have to hit enter. Don't hit divide yet, because otherwise it's only going to divide the last one. And there's 7 things in the list, so we're going to divide it by 7. And I get 31, which makes sense. It kind of fits in the middle there. If I had something like 68 or something, then I would guess that I had a mistake. Now the mode is the most common, so there really isn't a mode for this list. So you can write no mode. If it was 29, 29, then it would be 29. If you can have 2 modes, if there was 2 29s and 2 30s, then you could write 29 and 30. But in this case, there was nothing repeated at all. That's why we're saying no mode. Now the median, that's your middle number. We already put them in order, so your middle number is going to be 30 because there's 3 below and 3 above. Remember, it's the middle number, but they have to be in order. My range, that's your top number, so 41, minus your bottom number, 21. So there's a range of 20. Now standard deviation, this is where you can have your directions, but just a reminder, if you hit data, if you already have a list in here, let's say from like last night you have a list, then when you're in data, if you hit data again, it will let you clear that whole list out. You can hit delete as you go. If it's a final exam and you can't remember how to clear the list, just bring me your calculator and I'd be happy to do that for you. But all I'm going to do is enter these numbers. So I say 21, 24, 29, 30, and remember there are 7 numbers on my list. So when I hit enter the last time, it'll say 8 because I'm getting ready to type in the 8th one. Then you've got the directions, but you hit second data. I'm going to go into that first one, so it's already selected for you. It's list 1. I'm going to go down to calculate. And I can even check. My mean, if I did it correctly, is 31, and that's right. That 7 tells me, hey, you typed in 7 numbers. So if you see a different amount there, let's say you accidentally typed in 8 numbers, you know you've got a mistake. So kind of double check that. There's 7 numbers and 7 numbers. My mean is 31, and then my standard deviation, it doesn't say, but I would say 2 places past the decimal is kind of the normal thing to put. So I'd say 7.48, and that 8 does not get rounded up because the 3 doesn't tell me to round up. So it's just 7.48. So that's kind of the last little bit there. If you have questions, especially on the new material, we will have that about 45 minutes at the beginning on Thursday to go over things. But I will tell you, we're starting right at 6 o'clock. I know lately it's getting later and later before we can get started. And so if we've already gone over a section and you're late to class, then you missed that section. I'm not going to make everyone go back over it again. So it'll be important that you're there on time or that you're really well prepared before you get there.